All right, Kirk Goldsberry, you're sitting home on a Saturday night. Luka Doncic is being traded to the Lakers. What's your immediate reaction?
Like everybody else, this is hacked. It's embarrassing for Shams. I can't believe that the hacker didn't come up with a realistic trade.
Right.
If only the hacker had come up with a realistic trade, this would have been a
Yeah,
masterpiece.
put Reeves in it. Put Reeves in the 2031 first and a swap, and then I might think this happened.
Literally, that's my reaction. I think it says it all that everybody I know legitimately thought this was a hack and now are like digging into David Stern style conspiracy theories, trying to rationalize it afterwards. So those are the 2 points. When it happened, this guy got hacked. After it happened, this is a conspiracy theory. What explains this? In reality, shocked. I mean, count me among the people, Bill. This is the biggest, craziest NBA trade of my life.
I don't even think I was saying it last night to Russell and Mahoney. Just we're reacting in the moment. I had some time to sit with it. I'm like, this is definitely the craziest NBA trade. There's never been anything like this. There's never been an inkling. I'm going to walk you through. I came up with the 6 levels of massive NBA trades. And I'm using mostly the 21st century trades as a litmus test because I was really trying to figure out, has there been a crazier trade than this? Level 1, big deal, but we definitely had an inkling. So that's like Iverson to Denver, Carmelo to the Knicks, Chris Paul to the Clippers, even Kevin Love to the Cavs. Big deal, but we knew, we had a feeling, and it wasn't like massive, and we weren't going to be telling our grandkids where we heard the news. Kyrie to Boston, et cetera, et cetera. Level 2, big deal, immediately one-sided and stupid. So it's a trade, you maybe had an inkling, but then you see and you're like, wait, what? That's all they got. So that's like Vince Carter to the Jersey, T-Mac to the Rockets, Joe Johnson to the Hawks, Harden to Houston's a great one for this. Gobert to the T-Wolves. They're like, wait, what? What happened? That's level 2. Level 3 is the big deal out of nowhere that you feel like something tilted. That's Jason Kidd for Stephon Marbury in 2001. It's like, whoa, those guys might be the 2 best point guards in the league. They just traded them for each other. Gasol to the Lakers. Darren Williams to Utah, where you had a feeling it wasn't going great there, and all of a sudden they're trading him for Derek Favors and 2 firsts, and it was like, whoa. But then we move into this next level, level 4, the mega deal, but we knew something was coming. So that's like Shaq to Miami. That's KG to the Celtics. That's Anthony Davis to the Lakers.
Right.
Harden to the Nets. Durant to the Suns. We had a feeling. We knew, but it was still like, holy shit, that's a monster trade. Then you go to level 5, the mega deal out of nowhere. This is where it gets pretty rare. That's Paul George to the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
We know Kawhi's picking back and forth between Lakers, Clippers the whole week. We don't see the Paul George piece. Now all of a sudden they're on the same team. They're trading Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 4 firsts, 2 swaps, and another protected pick. And we're just like, what happened? And I think that was the biggest shocking trade, at least this century, until we get to level 6 last night. What the fuck just happened? Did the reporter get hacked? It's never happened before. This is the first, did the reporter get hacked mega trade. So you go backwards to the 70s, 80s, like Wilt to the Lakers, Kareem to the Lakers. Every time we had a feeling maybe a guy was available, but you talked to a bunch of NBA teams. Had you heard Luka was available? It was even conceivable?
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no. I talked to people who were involved with this deal. I had no idea this was possible. And I think you had him 4th in the trade value.
Yeah.
Generally, when I would like to do a historical analysis of what's the highest person on that list that's ever been moved.
A good way to, somebody sent this to me, that Bob McAdoo is the only real comparison we can ever do, who was around the same age range. He'd won the MVP twice, all NBA guy. And it's the only one that's even in the ballpark of, from a talent resume standpoint already. But in that case, they were trying to save money and they basically sold them to the Knicks.
What about Kareem out of Milwaukee? Like, that reminds me of this too. It's
or Moses Malone. But those, like, we knew those guys were getting traded. Those guys were like, trade me or I'm going to do free agency. Moses Malone signed with Philly and they had to then come up with a deal. So that's like the caliber of dudes. Davis is another one in 2019 with the Lakers.
We knew that though,
not
right?
like this, where the guy didn't know he was getting traded. This has never happened.
Yeah. nobody knew that this dude was on the market, which to me is the legacy of this deal. And it actually helps explain it now, 24 hours later, to me, is that the Dallas Mavericks valued Anthony Davis as much as Luka Doncic. Say what you want about that assessment, but that is the only justification or rationalization that explains how we got here right now, Bill. Because they only called one team, which you and Russillo and Mahoney did a great job of calling out that part of this. They really were zeroed in on getting Anthony Davis to their team. And I disagree with that assessment. I think most people around the NBA wildly disagree with the assessment, but that is the only explanation of how we got here today. That Nico Harrison looked at Anthony Davis and says, I want that as much as I want Luka Doncic.
Yeah, and people I've talked to, reading stuff, hearing stuff, it really seems like this starts in the finals last year when Boston kicks their ass and Luka's defense is a problem. And I think Kidd was just like, we're never going to win the title unless this guy takes it a little more seriously on the other end and gets into better shape, right? That's something they're talking about internally all the time. Comes into this season, still not in awesome shape, gets hurt again. And you have Pelinka and Nico Harrison, who have this whole crazy long relationship together. Like these were two of the guys that Kobe was the closest to. So they've known each other like from the height of the Kobe era. And they just start talking, and the reporting all said they started talking in the beginning of January, and they've been talking ever since. And I think it's a masterful job by Pelinka to convince Nico not to shop him. Now, if you're going to be fair to Nico, if they're going to trade Luka, they know what they wanted. They wanted a big guy. There's no other big guy that they could have traded him for, right? So if you're going to make calls, you're calling Milwaukee for Giannis, and you're calling Boston for Tatum. So when people talk about how do you not shop them around, they feel like Nico said in the press conference, whether you agree with it or not, they felt like they have a team that has a chance to win the title. They wanted to add somebody who could help them win the title this year. So that rules out basically everyone in the league and brings you to Tatum and Giannis. And they didn't call Boston. They didn't call Milwaukee. Now, if they called Milwaukee and said, do you have any interest in trading for Giannis? And or do you have any interest in trading Giannis? And Milwaukee said, I mean, the only way we'd ever even consider doing that is if Luka was on the table. And then Nico goes, well, hold on. What are you thinking? And then you kind of stumble into it.
Yeah.
But they didn't make the calls.
It's staggering. That remains and will always be the staggering part of this transaction. And I think when the dust settles, that's the biggest question that Nico Harrison's going to have to answer to for years is, sure, you reach the conclusion internally. Again, I'm not justifying this, but they reached the conclusion internally that we do not want to pay this person $350 million. We don't think his calf is going to hold up. We don't think his body's going to hold up. We don't think his nutrition is good. Whatever. They reached the conclusion that they're out. That's part one.
And Nico said, we felt like we were heading toward a tumultuous summer that we couldn't avoid. So we were trying to get out of this now, which leads me to believe maybe they were split internally on paying him.
Or the ownership is involved. And I had one executive explain it to me like this. The why is pretty clear. They didn't want to be in the business of Luka Doncic long term. They think he's more like Joel Embiid than the rest of us. They think that this is a big long-term risk. And they don't want that Joel Embiid albatross contract hanging over their cap table for the next, 5-6 years. But you reach that point, and I think Ryan did a great job with this too. Okay, now what is the process? The how is the problem. We can disagree with the why, but the how they executed this is the problem. You have a generational trade asset. You have to canvass the league. You have to cast a wide net. You have to get 2 or 3 parties negotiating against each other to get the best deal.
Yeah.
You're trading Herschel Walker, dude. You got to get the dynasty coming back to Dallas. You got to get all those offensive linemen, all those Vikings picks for those of us of a certain age. And they didn't do that, dude. That's going to be the thing he has to answer to for the next few years.
I was talking to my wife about it last night after we did the podcast. And she was just like, I don't understand why they traded Luka. Wasn't he in the finals? Like, she knows nothing. She doesn't care. And I was like, yeah, they just, they just felt like, I guess they didn't want to pay him. I still don't know anything. And she goes, well, did they try to trade him to other teams? Was that the best trade? And I was like, no, they just had one team. And she's like, that's weird, right? Like she was just like I was trying to explain it to her. Like she was like a little kid in elementary school. It's like, yeah, usually when you're shopping a guy, you tell the other teams. And then one of the funniest things I got this morning was one of my friends was like, Dallas is the team in your fantasy league that they just trade and you fucking lose your mind. And everyone's on email threads arguing about it because they can't believe he wasn't shopped. And that's basically what Dallas did. Here, a couple kickers though with this that makes me wonder if maybe the general public has completely overrated the talent in this trade or these two teams are just insane. Dallas put in a second round pick. So we're sitting there going, how is Max Christie in this trade instead of Austin Reeves? How is their 2031 first not in there? Why wasn't there like 3 years of swaps? And as Russillo made the joke last night, which was great, about Poinka like holding firm on the 31 pick, like the deal was going to go away. It was even crazier than that. He's like, not only am I holding firm, give me a second round pick. And he got it. So that's how bad the Mavs, A, wanted to get rid of Luka, I guess, and B, wanted Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and there's a week-long process. One of my sources inside the Lakers was indicating that the deal was bigger, and I think you guys were literally joking about this last night, that there were 2 firsts, and there was Dalton Connect, and the deal got whittled down because I think Rob Pelinka was able to convince the Dallas Mavericks that Luka is a lot of risk. Yeah. And you guys are right for trying to look at this way because this guy, is drinking or is whatever, his weight problem, whatever it is. So they were able to convince it. This was a weeks-long process. That's another thing that came out today is this wasn't, this was and Dallas
almost
started
3.5 weeks.
Dallas started it, dude. This fell in Rob Pelinka's lap. And then he was able to reduce the outward Lakers assets to such, dude, Mikal Bridges commanded 5 first-round picks.
Well, so the thing with Pelinka, I've just been marveling at, he's like a character out of Succession or something. He is over and over again figured out how to blame whoever was coaching the Lakers for whatever was wrong with them over any of his moves, right? The Westbrook trade, like you could point to all these different things at Pelinka, but he always survives. And then he somehow Jedi mind tricks Nico Harrison with this Davis thing and talks to him for 3 weeks, convinces him not to shop him anywhere else. No, if you're going to trade Luka, like it has to be for Davis. Who else in the league would it be? You have to get an all defensive center back. Like you're going to shop him like Milwaukee. Luka's not going to go to Milwaukee. Like Milwaukee's not going to trade Giannis for him because Luka's never going to sign there. They know that. Boston loves Tatum. They're not turning Tatum into Luka. They love Tatum. That's their guy. Like, yeah. So now it's like Bam Adebayo. Like you can't trade Luka for Bam Adebayo. It's got to be Anthony Davis. So he's just like kind of tilting it so that Nico's like, yeah, you're right. I guess you guys are the only suitor. And it worked.
The other thing is they think this team is going to win. They think that the Kyrie, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis trio is a big 3. They think that.
Well, that's stupid. They can't think that.
They think they're going to win. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. But I think the only way, again, that you can explain why they would only call the Lakers is they wanted Anthony Davis. They started off this process, hey, we think we can get Anthony Davis. And Nico has this pre-existing relationship with Anthony Davis. And Jason Kidd has this pre-existing relationship with Anthony Davis in the Lakers. And again, I don't agree with these things, but I, like everybody, spent the whole day trying to understand how this could have gone and how they only called one organization. And it's
they want a tough defensive team, right? So they're thinking we can run our offense through Kyrie and AD. We have a bunch of shooters and tough defenders, and we could actually hang in the West in a real way if those two guys are healthy. They might not necessarily be wrong, but it doesn't mean they should have traded Luka Doncic.
I think they're going to be pretty good this year. I'm not going to say this is a disaster.
No, they're going to have real size with the 2 centers and Davis. They have wings that can play D.
Yeah.
They have Kyrie, who's a crunch time guy. Oh, this is a pretty big offensive burden for him. But I can see how you talk to yourself into this, except for the part that you're giving up a generational talent who's having one of the first 7 years of his career. There's only 4 other guys in the history of the league. Wilt, LeBron, who are the other 2? Wilt, LeBron, Kareem.
Magic. Maybe.
No, there's one other one. But anyway, that are on this. Oh, Oscar Robertson, that have the first 7 years that Luka had in the history of the league. We're talking almost 80 years.
Yeah, Stephen Curry hasn't made first-team All-NBA as much as Luka has. It's crazy.
Stephen Curry took him 3 years to even become Stephen Curry, right? Luka immediately, and he made Western Finals and the Finals. So I'm going to run through a couple of things I'm going to throw at you. Just from reading, listening, talking to people. A couple of the narratives that didn't pass the sniff test for me are just things that I didn't hit yesterday that I want to. The first one, the AD and LeBron and Clutch being blindsided by this trade, having no idea that it was in the works, finding out like we all did after the fact. As you know, I'm a conspiracy guy. I'm a sniff test guy. This does not pass the sniff test for me for this reason. Buried in all of this stuff was Anthony Davis waived his trade kicker to go to Dallas.
Yep.
And he did it pretty quickly. So you have Anthony Davis blindsided by the trade, who loves Los Angeles, who's in his little clutch triangle with LeBron and Rich Paul, and out of nowhere gets traded to Dallas. And he's so upset about it that he decides to forego $5.9 million and waive his trade kicker, money he's entitled to. And he's like, I'm good. Yeah, forget it. I want to help you guys out with the luxury. It just doesn't pass the sniff test for me. LeBron James, same thing. LeBron, you would think he would take this so personally. You trade my guy. This is my hand-pointed sidekick. You got to trade me now. Quietly today, it's like, nah, he's going to be here after the trade deadline. And then Clutch, same thing. Shams has a relationship with Clutch. Shams gets the scoop. I just think they knew before the trade, and I wouldn't bet my life on it, but that would be my bet.
Yeah, I think the idea that this traveled in silence the whole time,
it's absurd.
Is a lot. It's absurd.
Now that we know it's been since January 7th, it's absurd.
That's right. That's what I learned today, too, is that this was a month-long process. And the idea that this was as quiet, it is hard to believe, particularly the way that Clutch and LeBron have inserted themselves into Lakers basketball operations. And I agree with you that the idea that Anthony was so quick to waive that thing.
And seems kind of fired up to go to Dallas, which this is why I wanted to do a second day pod. Raises a bunch of questions for me. It's like, you seem pretty pumped about this. You're not sticking them with the trade kicker, and you seem like you like where you're going, and you have this long relationship with Nico Harrison, and you're getting away from the Lakers, and maybe you feel like you're selling high in your Laker experience. You won a title. LeBron's 40 years old. New challenge, Dallas. Maybe I'll be the guy there in Texas. Just seems like if he was pissed about it, you're making them pay the 5.9, and he didn't.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's also a big compliment. I think one of y'all said this last night, that he is the piece for Luka Doncic, and I think that's almost flattering to a point.
Right. That they had to throw in a second-round pick from Dallas's side just to get this done.
And there's some intel that Anthony was not in love with playing in Los Angeles the way they were playing basketball. I think it all comes together that he might not have been as satisfied there as he was letting on.
And then if LeBron was truly blindsided by this, just from his, let's say, some passive-aggressive behavior over the years from him with roster moves and lack of moves, and he just seems pretty fine with the events, at least so far. It's 6:30 now on a Sunday night. We haven't seen him really leak anything, say anything, and just seems okay because he's smart, because he gets to play Luka Doncic. And now there's a scenario where, hey, Luka, let me teach you some diet stuff. Hey, Luka, this is called a VersaClimber. What do you think of this thing? Hey, Luka, I see you're weighing about 265 right now. Do you realize if you weigh 250, this, and this will happen? Hey, Luka, here's why you keep hurting your calf. You're not doing Luka basically inherits the greatest personal trainer in the history of the league. LeBron doesn't get hurt.
Ever tried red wine instead of these,
Right.
Czech Pilsners that you've been crushing over the last 10 years?
Right.
Yeah, I think
This is the
that's
scary
true.
thing of the trades me. This is what my dad said today. He's like, I don't want Luka on the Lakers for a million reasons, but what if he figures it out? What if he's in better shape? What happens then?
Well, dude, and he is, and I think a lot of us feel this way. They poked the bear, and that's not a fat guy joke.
I meant to say yesterday
guy,
the FU potential now we have.
a huge FU potential, Bill. Huge. This guy, he talks like when I first got into Luka, when he would run his mouth against dudes like Pat Beverly and stuff, and he was a kid, and he would just give it right back, and sometimes more than he was getting. And I was like, this guy is a competitor. And now, you guys did say this yesterday, but it's true. They poured a bunch of gas on this dude's fire. And if he's able to channel it the way that I think, and a lot of Mavs fans think right now, look out, dude, because you're right. He can come in like LeBron 2012 mode, after that Mavs series,
right,
and just be like, all right, I'm here and I'm mad. And I can't wait for February 25th to play the Dallas Mavericks in Dallas.
I'm going to get in the craziest shape of my life. I remember for Page 2 in 2004, when Shaq got traded, I wrote a column called The Vengeance Scale. And I ranked the vengeance scale from 0 to 100. Because I thought Shaq, at least for the next couple years, is going to get in shape and dedicate his life to trying to win a title and stick this up the Lakers' ass. And he eventually did. Wade got hurt in 05. He did in 06.
Dude.
I think Luka, the competitive, he's both like crazy competitive, but also frustratingly competitive, because if he was that competitive, he would be in better shape. But I think he's competitive enough that when somebody trades you, you're just going to be pissed. When you're playing for the Lakers in LA and this incredible franchise, and you getting, bathed in love from you see the 77 jerseys, all that stuff. It has a chance to really ignite them. And that would be the thing. I feel so bad for the Mavs fans. I've talked to a couple of them today. Like, they're just so devastated. They just can't believe this. And if I'm Mavs fan, the worst part of this trade is what happens if we lose in round 2 and Luka just goes on a heater for the next 8 years. And we're like, we fucking lost Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic. And I was on a thread with some Red Sox fans. We were arguing about the Mookie Betts trade versus the Luka trade. And Luka, I think, is a more important asset because it's so there's 4 untradeable NBA guys every year. In baseball, there's 25 guys on a team. But Mookie was our Luka, basically.
Yeah.
And we'd actually won a title with him. And he really was a unique, amazing top 5, top 8 player. And we didn't get Anthony Davis for him. I'll just tell you that. We got Connor Wong and Jeter Downs and Alex Verdugo. And we got rid of David Price's contract. That was a trade. And it made me not like baseball. I don't really watch the Red Sox in the same way anymore. So for the Mavs fans, I know some Mavs fans, like Jason Gallagher, who we used to work with, he's talking about his son is I'm following Luka to the Lakers. He's like a lifelong Mavs fan. It's now I am a Laker fan. This is that whole fucked up side of this is crazy.
No, it's totally true. So many fans, when Mbappe goes from PSG to Real Madrid, they're just I'm going to Real Madrid. I'm a Real Madrid fan now, I guess. This is a generational talent who is going to bring fans like Jason Gallagher's son with him. That's not going to be a unique story. And that
poor
message
Gallagher.
board,
Tough
dude, poor Gallagher. Sorry. But yeah, dude, I went to the Mavs subreddit today, and it was like Sons of Sam Horn in October 2003. It was so bad,
shit,
dude.
They were going to the arena with props. Somebody brought a coffin. They were having a protest. Somebody brought a coffin to say goodbye to the Mavs.
Of just visceral pain, dude.
Well, there's also some incredible conspiracy stuff already. God only knows what's true, half true, 10% true, but people thinking
what are your favorite conspiracy theories?
My favorite, I love this one, that the owners have always wanted the Vegas team, and their eventual goal is to basically flip franchises, move Dallas to Vegas so they can have their old casino thing. The expansion team that was going to go in Vegas would be the Dallas team. They'd pay whatever. And the first way to do this was to torpedo the Mavericks franchise relationship with their fans by trading Luka Doncic. And it's like, I have no notes. That's one of the best conspiracy theories I've ever heard.
And I'm in Texas right now. One more layer to that one is like gambling in Texas may or may not happen, right?
Probably not happening.
So, yeah, like this family for those who don't know, this family made its money in Vegas. Like, they are a casino family. Yeah. So that's a good one. There's definitely some other ones about just trying to get ratings up and the Lakers back. But yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy.
How do we help the Lakers?
Stuff.
That's what my dad said. The father of Conspiracy Bill Sr. was like, this just feels like the Lakers were about to die and they had to put another star in their team. Because my dad was like, how does this team keep pulling this off? Like all the Celtic fans were just getting pissed about this today because this is the team we hate the most. It's just like, this team just steps in shit. They're born on third base in the ultimate way. They fuck up the entire 2010s. Even like they take Lonzo Ball over Tatum. Like you can point to a million things. And it all leads to LeBron being like, yeah, you know what? I really want to live in LA. And they just miraculously land LeBron. Then they have this clutch alliance where like, we're putting Anthony Davis on the Lakers. Nobody else trade for him. The Celtics are like, here are all these picks and we'll trade you Jaylen Brown. And they're like, nope, he's got to go to the Lakers. So now they get Davis and LeBron together. And then they get 6 years out of Davis and turn him into Luka Doncic, the best generational offensive prospect / star / heading into his prime guy since LeBron.
They got, and you guys did a little of this yesterday, but they got Shaq and they got Pau Gasol exactly when they needed him. And like, what we said in San Antonio is like, there's three ways to build an NBA team: the trade, free agency, and draft. And the Lakers really have access to all three of those levers in a way that no other team does, specifically trades and free agency. And this is just another example of that. And the Spurs or the Grizzlies or the Thunder will never get a trade for somebody like Luka Doncic or a free agency play like that. So they do start on third base. That's exactly right. And this is the updated version of them getting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 50 years ago.
Right.
It's just wild, but it is kind of cool in that sense as an NBA historian.
It's not cool.
It falls in line with this, but as Celtics fans, not exactly thrilled with that historic like parallel, I guess.
Yeah, you could do an all-time 9-man rotation of NBA 75 guys that they've traded for or signed in free agency. Wilt, Kareem, Shaq, and Kobe because they traded for Kobe. Gasol, Dwight, LeBron, AD, Luka. Those guys are all top 75 guys that they acquired.
Yeah, and pick any other NBA team and say who's the best player your team's ever traded for.
Right.
And it's
for us, the Celtics would be Robert Parrish and KG. Yeah. I think would be the two best, and that's in 80 years, unless you count the Bill Russell trade because they flipped draft picks. But
if you talk about really like the Bucks or even the Sixers or the Magic, these kinds of players don't just show up on your doorstep.
Yeah, and then the flip side for the Mavs, I mentioned the Mookie Betts trade. This is Edmonton trading Gretzky in 1988, which we did at 30 for 30. That was actually the first 30 for 30 ever. But Gretzky had already won titles for them. The whole point is Luka had not won the title for them yet. He had the promise of, oh my God, we have this guy for the next 20 years. Then we have the other weird piece, Kirk, about the Lakers, who are playing well. They still have to do the trade. But the irony of them doing the trade right now was they had just started to look like a contender and they had an identity and they were big and physical and they'd figured out some of the spacing. Christie and Finney Smith were both playing well at wings, so they finally had competent wings they could put out there. So that was part of the trade last night, was the timing of it was like, I just watched this team and they look really good and now they just made the most shocking trade in the history of the league. So a defense of the Luka trade from Dallas' side. I just want to do this as a thought exercise. If you're trying to zag, what's the defense? If you're like, you know what, Nico Harrison has figured this out and he's going to fucking show you that this trade was really smart. What's the defense?
The defense is that Luka Doncic is the next Joel Embiid. He is a person whose body isn't going to hold up to these crazy pace and space games that happen 82 times a year, plus playoffs. Like Luka played 100 games last year. He's repeatedly strained his calf. We think there's an Achilles tear risk here. We think there's a weight. We think the lower body's going to go or the back's going to go, and we're going to be on the hook for that Joel Embiid equivalent, and we don't want to do it. And this is the last trade deadline opportunity we have to turn him into something. I don't take that stance, but that's the case, and I think that's what they saw. Moreover, I thought specifically they wanted Anthony Davis, and I think they think they're a better team with Anthony Davis than with Luka Doncic. That's the only.
All right, I'll
case.
add to the defense. Anthony Davis anchored a finals team in 2020 that won it all. Defense wins championships. No defense stars don't win titles. Go find me one. Seen a lot of no defense superstars take teams to round 3, maybe even round 4, but they don't win. How do we know he was signing here in 2026? We don't know. Got to get out early. The way to do this is to do it now when we feel like we can get a lot of value. And then AD was the only guy we wanted. Luka was never going to Milwaukee. Boston wouldn't have done Tatum. Bam's not good enough. KD's too old. Edwards makes no sense for either side. Jalen Brunson, no. So where are we shopping him to? We're going to trade him for a bunch of picks? Like, we didn't want to do that. We feel like our team's good. I think that's the defense, and it's moronic.
We'll see. I mean, I will leave a sliver of hope for the Mavs fans that they could be hoisting up Larry O'Brien in the next year or two. I don't think that's going to happen. But
they're so mad they'd probably boo the finals trophy ceremony, throwing their Luka Doncic jerseys at it. Fuck you!
It's almost like Ohio State football. Like they won the national title and they're still pissed off that they lost that Michigan game.
Right? We won, but we're still mad.
Yeah, like they could literally boo the parade. But yeah, I don't see it. I think they really believe that Anthony Davis, and I think this is Nico Harrison, believing that Anthony Davis can anchor a top defense in the NBA, and that with Kyrie and Clay and their role players, that they can compete for a title. That's the defense.
They still need one more trade. I think they need somebody a little more heat checky who can create their own shot, and they still have time to do it because they have. Well,
he's from Dallas.
Who?
Jimmy Butler. Is he from Dallas or Houston? Where's that from?
Well,
I forget.
Cerruti just texted us that the Warriors Jimmy Butler trade talks have finally ended because the Warriors did not want to commit to an extension, and Jimmy Butler said, "This is who reported this, Cerruti? It was
Wendy.
Oh, Wendy reported. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, I was thinking about the one thing we didn't talk about yesterday because we were so dumbfounded by the trade. Are there moves for the Lakers this year to become an interesting playoff team? Because I'm positive if LeBron is playing like he did last night and he can just stay somewhat healthy and fresh for a couple rounds, that's not a team I want to see in round 1 or round 2. Then Luka with him, and you just have these two freaky, physical, 6'8", 6'9" guys who don't really have a position, who both have crazy hoops IQs. And then if you can put the right team around them, which they're inching closer to having, except they don't have any rim protection at all. And could they go get Nick Claxton was a rumor today? Could they take a flyer on Robert Williams? Could they get Clint Capella? Would the Hawks want to trade a Kongwu for the 2031 pick? Would you put Austin Reeves on the table? What could you get for him?
Yeah, Austin Reeves is expendable now. I mean, why do you need Austin Reeves if you have Luka Doncic?
Well, you need him. House and I were talking about this today. You need him as your 6-man injury protection for one of those two guys, somebody who's 25 minutes a game. You always have two, obviously the other two guys are way better offensively, but you always have two really good creators. And Reeves is turning into a pretty good creator
he's great
at all times. So
let me ask you this. Do you think
you turn like Gabe Vincent, 2031, something else into like Nick Claxton?
Claxton and Time Lord are the names that keep coming up. And I would guess that one of them will be on the Lakers. I would guess that. They need a 5. Obviously, they need a 5. They don't have it.
You're not sold on Jackson Hayes? Christian Wood?
Yeah, I'm a professor at the University of Texas, and Jackson is one of our one of our guys. So I'm a big Jackson Hayes guy. But no, I want a 5-man. And my question for you, Bill, is like, do you believe that this Lakers team thinks they're going to compete for a title now this year in the next 5 months?
Here's the thing. They should think that way. And I didn't think they had a chance to win 4 straight rounds with the team they had because it was putting too much. LeBron looked good against the Knicks. Like, he was awesome against the Knicks. To ask somebody to do that for 10 straight weeks, to me at age 40 is not realistic. But now they have a guy who can, we've already seen him single-handedly beat teams in a series, who's now going to be pissed off trying to shove it up somebody's ass. So if I'm the Lakers, I feel like I could win 3 rounds now. I feel like we're going against OKC, and it's like, we have LeBron and Luka, and you guys are small, and we're going to just try to bully ball you, and you can, do whatever, but we're still going to be a bitch to play. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, they have the 6th best. They were 21-1 last night. Now they're 18-1. So people are betting them, which is not surprising. But if they get a rim protector and they can play LeBron and Luka with some sort of shooting point guard, Finney Smith, and the rim protector at crunch time with Reeves coming off the bench and some other pieces, like, I wouldn't want to see him in a series.
That's where I'm at. But it hinges on that rim protector, because right now they're just not built for a playoff run without rebounding and rim protection.
Well, they have the miracle of Pelinka keeping Reeves and the 2031 pick. So they go get that, and that almost could be part of the trade, right?
Yeah, and every call I'm sure you had today that I had today is like, oh yeah, they might trade LeBron to Golden State too, which I don't think will happen, but came up so many times today that we have to address it. Came up last night
too. Yeah, I think he stays. It's a better career move, and I think he likes LA, right? You get traded, your son has to come with you. That's weird. Going to Golden State. What ultimately are going to happen? You get to play with Curry. It's an older team. You have a better chance at winning the title with the team you have now. Right. If he's all about titles and like an unbelievable out of nowhere title run, which still dubious, but you go through all these teams and all right, they're playing Houston in round 1. Are you going against Luka pissed off with LeBron as his sidekick?
Right.
Against like Fred VanVleet? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and there's still the buyout market too. And these guys just became the biggest magnet. And that market is always irregular and unreliable. Don't get me started. But every once in a while, there is a valuable piece on the buyout market. And they will get really attractive potential buyout pieces looking at their team. So I think they have 2 moves left. This is a big 4-day period for the Lakers front office. They're going to look at sending out that pick. They're going to look at sending out Austin Reeves, maybe even Rui Hachimura, to try to turn it into something at the 5 especially, but around these 2 generational playmakers. 2 generational playmakers and 2 guys who don't shrink in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think they are going to try to go, but I think they're going to do a little bit cautious. I'd be surprised if the pick went. I'll say that. I think they're going to try to do it with personnel.
Well, they're going to be in a situation where they're going to have to sign Luka this summer, and LeBron's going to opt into his deal. So they basically have one chance to align all the money because they're going to get crushed next year no matter what happens. But they're the Lakers, and they shouldn't care because all of a sudden they have this meal ticket of LeBron was about to end with the season tickets, the suites, everything else. You had the Clippers in their new arena, which is awesome. Lakers playing in the shitty Staples Center. And now it's like, come see Luka Doncic. And it's a guy that, there's always been a weird thing with LeBron and the Laker fans because it's right after Kobe and there's this whole Kobe contingent. And Luka had this awesome early relationship with Kobe, and I could just see them being all in on adopting him. And also, he won't be the first guy to move to California and immediately lose 20 pounds and look awesome and be tan and get in shape. It's happened many times. This is what happens when you come out here. Perfect place for him.
Who's he going to be dating? TMZ's getting ready. But yeah, in all seriousness, that 77 jersey in purple and gold, how long till we start seeing the tweets that the number 1 selling jersey in the NBA? Yeah. It's already done. Like again, this is a team that just finds money. And this is just an
It's a
updated
born on
version
third
of
base
that.
team. It's frustrating as hell. The thing with the Lakers, though, they do have really good fans. I got to hand it to them. And they have an expectation. It's annoying that it's
Yeah.
always going to somehow work out, right? Even if they're in the 2010s, they kept ending up with these picks and it was a mess. And Kobe's last 2 years weren't great. And it was always like, we're the Lakers. This is going to work out. The Celtics used to have that in the 80s and 90s. It's like, well, no, it'll work out. And then all of a sudden it didn't work out forever. And I was always like, just wait with this Lakers thing when LeBron leaves. Just wait. And now they end up with Luka Doncic.
Yeah, it
And
did
he'll
feel
probably
like
be
that.
pissed off.
Yeah, because it felt like they were heading towards an era where they were going to have a 34-year-old Anthony Davis as
just
their
breaking
focal
down.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Austin
felt like
Reeves and Max Christie.
And now they're going to have a 27-year-old Luka Doncic, just angry at the world. And hopefully, they are able to extend him. And I do want to say that. And one of the sort of main points here is like, there's no guarantee he's going to sign that extension in Los Angeles.
Yeah. What if Miami is like batting their eyelashes at him?
What if San Antonio? Like, what if Oklahoma City? Like, there are teams that are going to let him know that they really want him to play there.
Oh, come on. The NBA isn't allowed to do that, Kirk. Teams aren't allowed to talk to players from other teams. That doesn't happen.
Oh, God. But it's like, so I think that that's something I haven't heard talked about enough is there is a chance that he will not want to be there. I think it's a small chance. I think he's now at the New York Yankees and he is sort of that A-Rod character who's going to settle into that sort of prestigious
people don't leave the
role.
Lakers. Once you're here and you're on the Lakers and they're spending money and you're in the sunshine, guys have not left the Lakers. Great players, they stay. That's what happens.
All right, let me ask the sports guy this.
Stays.
Let me ask you this. How far do the Lakers go this year?
I feel like I'm going to throw up. Right now, they're a 5 seed. They are tied with Denver in losses for the 4 seed, and they're only 3 back from Memphis. I think they have to get in the top half of that top 4, right? So they can have at least one home series. I'm all in on Luka. I completely believe in him as a terrifying offensive force, and I think he needed a kick in the ass like this. Yeah. I'm all in on him. Like I feel like they can make the finals. I don't think it's crazy. We watched him do it last year. And he owns Oklahoma City.
That's right. That's what I was just going to say.
That's the one team they have to beat, and he plays great against them. And even this year, he had a good game against them. But, and then you take a team like Denver. How do you beat a team like Denver with 2 really gifted offensive players, And then there's the LeBron piece, too. This is like an amazing, out of nowhere, life raft for a chance to get another title and rewrite some of his shit.
And dude, I think his odometer benefits from this. I think off-ball LeBron he lasts a little bit longer. He's a little more durable than on-ball LeBron. And I think just him setting screens is a crazy concept. Like
them running pick and rolls, right?
Yeah, he's the new Karl Malone. He just becomes Karl Malone for them. And
that was the thing last night in the Knicks game. Physically, he was so impactful compared to everyone on the Knicks. It just didn't feel like they had a big enough athlete to handle him. And LeBron hasn't felt like that in a while. It really feels like maybe he knew that Luka trade was coming, and that's why he was playing with a little pep in his step. But I just think those guys are going to be really hard to play. There's a flip side of this where those 2 are a disaster on defense. You can't play the 2 of them with Reeves together. JJ, who is now realizing the weight of, holy shit, I took this Lakers job and now we have Luka Doncic. He's like, his hair's fucking falling out by April. They aren't able to get the right rim protector. Like, I would say it's 65-35 for me that they could actually be an incredibly dangerous playoff team versus, but I was surprised with the people I talked to today. Like, people kind of weren't seeing the immediate title picture. I think Luka, as long as he's healthy, he has to be, it's like Jokic. It's like when Denver looked like shit in the start of the season and we were all worried about them. It's like, well, they still have Jokic. Like, I'm not counting them out yet.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma City gets my respect. They deserve it.
Me too.
Beyond that, Houston, who I adore, Memphis, I love. I just think they're both too young, really, And if you're telling me I have Luka and LeBron against either of those two teams, dude, there's a case for those Lakers to just to get them with wisdom.
Well, I would say the Clippers, from a defensive roster standpoint, are actually built the best to kind of battle this team, which means maybe we'll finally get the Clippers-Lakers series we've been waiting for forever. But yeah, I just think in a series, it's going to be really hard to match baskets with them if Luka's right. And I don't know why he wouldn't be right. He was averaging 28 a game, by the way. I know he's having like his worst statistical year, but yeah, this is an amazing.
By the way, we put it on wax. Your season tickets for the Clippers, we put it on wax like 3 weeks ago. That we was like, let's not forget the Los Angeles Clippers. And then Kawhi comes back, and they've looked like the best team in the NBA at times
until today.
What happened today? They lost.
Or yesterday? No, they lose to Toronto.
Oh yeah, that's right. They lost to Toronto.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah, like over the last 2 months, or I should say January, just look it up. Like their indicators scream, we're good, and their defense has been good all year. And as we said that last
today
time,
for them though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clippers versus Lakers. We could see it. Amazing trade. Congrats to the Spurs for getting Fox as well. I don't know. We have 4 days until the trade deadline, Kirk. I don't know what else to expect. We don't know where Jimmy Butler's going. There's still what other things should we be watching? Jimmy Butler.
I think the Nets have a for sale sign up in the front yard. I think both Claxton and Cam Johnson are on the move, if I had to guess.
Miami, God only knows what they're up to. Are Memphis and Houston going to feel like they should do something? Which would be great for the Lakers if they didn't. Is Cleveland going to tinker with anything at all? Vucevic is another one. Can the Suns get off Nurkic's deal with a pick and try to get a better rim protector? And then
Jeremy Grant, I think, is one to watch in Portland if Portland can find a taker for Jeremy Grant.
And can Milwaukee figure out anything? Would be my other question. Are they just stuck with the team they have?
I'm sure there's more. Classic Bill Simmons trope that was relevant this crazy weekend is new owner syndrome, which, by the way, when the Bucks changed owners, that's when this Lillard thing happened and the Drew Holiday thing. This is like the owners remain the most underrated characters in pro sports sagas. And this is another example. Would Mark Cuban have done this deal? So
I was texting somebody about that today saying Cuban's got to be disconsolate. Because first of all, he trades the Mavs as sells the Mavs as the franchises are going up. Seems like he had a feeling like he might be involved. He's not. And then Luka, his hand-picked, like, if they win the title, he gets to take credit for that forever. Now they trade him.
I remember we did a Granlund feature with Mark in 2013 or 14 on, at that time he was like symbolic of this new era of bad boy tech owner guy.
Yeah.
And we talked about how the Mavs were a laughingstock before him, and no disrespect to Mark Aguirre or Orlando Blackman, but they were never a great franchise. And then he gets them to the finals 2 or 3 times. And it sure looks like this new ownership group is taking things in a different direction. So, yeah, he's got to be just so destroyed.